Hey, it's love to be loved. It's always love to be loved. And today we're going to talk about band? How do you say that? Band. Band old schoolyard games. Games, old, start over. Band old schoolyard games. Pyramid explained. Now, first off, in my first video on that was iceberg-ish. I called it a pyramid because, for one, most of the iceberg videos are about things that are mysterious, controversial, conspiracies, stuff, unknown, lost media type stuff. And two, because I am a boomer and I did not want to figure out how to do the chart on the iceberg. So I drew it and it turned out to look like a pyramid and not an iceberg. So anyways, to get started on the band Old Schoolyard Games, Pyramid Explained. Now remember, at the top of the list aren't necessarily the most dangerous games, they're just the most well known. And then further down the pyramid you go, it'll be probably the least known games. So the start off is dodgeball. Now, if you can think about dodgeball, now, as far as I know, it's banned in most schools, but other schools keep it in for some odd reason. Now, the ones who keep it in say it teaches leadership, it teaches kids how to make quick decisions under pressure, and they learn how to take injuries, so to speak. They learn how to lose, what it's like to win, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, the ones that banned it just say it's just freaking dangerous. Now, just to get a little snippet, those of you who have never played dodgeball before, basically, you have you're inside the gym or the basketball court. You have one side of kids on one side, and then you have another team of kids on the other. Now, if you have a fair enough PE teacher, you have a mix of the athletic, popular kids with the nerds, non-participating, I'm just here for a grade kids. And you have a pretty equal mix of kids, and the PE teacher made sure somehow that was somehow divided. Sometimes you have the cruel and mean PE teachers who want to see the popular, for some reason had joy in seeing the popular and athletic kids crush the non-athletic nerd kids or whatever. But yeah, the rules are simple. Don't hit in the head. Don't hit below the belly, and you can hit below the knees as long as they're not jumping in the air, because you know how that could turn out, and you know how kids like to do things accidentally, especially when they're mad or frustrated. Okay, to move on, then we have tetherball. Now, those of you who are familiar with tetherball, you're like, well, why is that one dangerous, or why was that one banned? Well, let's do the mechanic of what the tetherball is made of. You have a volleyball with a loop on top, and it was connected to a rope, and it was tethered or tied to the top of a pole. And of course, the idea was to get the ball all the way around until the ball touched the pole. Well, you have two things involved here. Kids hitting the ball or throwing the ball if they are frustrated, and someone getting hit in the ball or getting hit with the rope. So, because of those reasons, if it's not banned in all schools, it's definitely a lot less seen. And the only reason most people even thought of it is because of one of my favorite movies is Napoleon Dynamite, because the character Napoleon Dynamite is someone I can relate to. But you're gonna have to figure that one out on your own. Then the ball hitting you, the rope causing damage. That's why it was banned or taken off the schoolyards. Back in my day, I never thought I'd say that, but back in my day, in the schoolyards of the 70s and 80s, the Generation X. The other game that I haven't heard I didn't hear any of my kids talk about, or if they did, it was very rare. It was tag, and you were wondering what the heck. Why would tag be banned, or why wouldn't it be played anymore? Well, because, as you know, there's one person who's it, and they go around and chase people and try to tag someone. And once they tag them, then that person's it. Well, after a while playing, you start tagging each other a little harder, and pretty soon it turns into a big brawl to where you're fighting and tagging each other quite aggressively. So that's why I can imagine why it was banned. Now this next game, I'm going to use a few games that are hybrid or combined versions of games that are still played, that are known as the professional sports, like baseball, basketball, football, hockey. You get the idea. Now, and I'm including on this list because they are not the typical way of playing the game. And the first one on the list is touch and flag football. The flag football isn't per se banned because it involves equipment that most kids would not want to buy or get their hands on. And so there's actual leagues that the NFL and other places and other organizations, they play the flag football. Now the reason why flag football would be on the list is because it can, you can accidentally tackle somebody or get really aggressive, because it takes more than just touching the person. You have to take the flag off of the belt, and you have two flags hanging on the side. Anyways, it can become aggressive. And touch football was pretty much banned in our school unless there was an adult teacher watching to make sure that no one got too out of hand. Because touch football, same as flag football, can become more of tackle, because you didn't like the fact that you got, it just took someone touching you. Anyways, so there's that. Now on the second tier, you have something called Red Rover. were, the same setup, not the same type of game, but the same setup as dodgeball. You have one set of kids on one end, and it was usually outside because there was a lot more room. And I'll explain why in a minute. You had one team on one end, another team on the other. And then you would hold hands. And man, I took every opportunity I could get to make sure I was holding my hand with one of the girls that I had a crush on or liked, or whatever was going on. Anyways, you would hold hands, and you would be, I don't know, about 50 feet away or 50 yards away or however far away it was, and then the team would start off, and they would say, Red Rover, and then send, like, John right over, and John would have to bust through the hands. And if he didn't bust through the hands, he stayed on that side of the field and stayed on that team. But if he was able to bust through, he or she picked someone, and they usually would try to go for the biggest person and put it on their team. And then you would keep going until there was no one left on the whoever ended up with no one left. Now, if you can't see it, you could see how potentially that could be dangerous, and why I haven't heard about or seen it much. I don't know if it was banned or not. I didn't do a whole lot of research. I'm just going on nostalgia right now and things that I heard about. But anyways, to where, kids instead of them lowering the hands, they would raise their hand and give them a clothesline, just like in the WWF or WCW or what, I know, whatever wrestling organization or pro wrestling, and or the person out of revenge of seeing their teammate getting clothesline, they would accidentally shoulder block or tackle one of the people that did the clothesline. So you can see why that was considered a dangerous game. Another one is still in the second tier, is leapfrog. And you think of leapfrog, that seems like a really innocent game. Well, it starts off innocent until people start shoving the one you leap, you shove their head into the ground, or you don't clear over the head. I don't even have, should I have to explain why that would hurt? Or their feet don't clear over the shoulders, and they kick him in the head on accident, or kick it or kick him on the side. And so, so you can see the potential of why leapfrog not seen out there very often. Then there's another one that's a combination of dodgeball and baseball or softball, and that's kickball. And the idea of the game is in the name of the game, which is the pitcher would roll a ball across all the way to home plate, and then the hitter would kick the ball, and as soon as the ball, just like in baseball, as soon as it hit the ground, if you were able to catch the ball, even if it bounced up in the air, the person wasn't out. So the person who was able to get a hold of the ball, they had two decisions. One, throw it to the next base that the runner is running to, or, which is usually the option that everyone chooses, throw the ball at the runner. Now, it wasn't like a hard ball like a basketball or a volleyball. It was one of, the same one you use for dodgeball. The filled up with rubber balls, filled up with air, but a little bit softer. And the same rules with dodgeball. You can't hit them in the head, below the belly, and especially then while they're running, you can't hit them in the feet. So you had to be right in the chest. Yeah, right in the chest, or in the upper thigh if you're lucky enough not to hit them anywhere else. And you could see how that could get out of hand and become really dangerous. Then on the second tier, you have tug of war, and basically you had one big guy and he had a rope tied around his waist or her waist, and then the other team, they had their big guy, and then everyone would stand and get to the middle, somewhere near, like it would be like 5 feet or 10 feet apart from the teams would be 5 feet, and you would pull to see who you can cause the team to fall on top of each other. That alone is dangerous. Or you have the team that knew they were going to lose, and they would let go and have the winning team fall all the way back so that's why that would be considered a dangerous game or banned or not played anymore. On the third tier, you get a little bit more to where most people wouldn't know about these games. Now, one I included is not really dangerous. I just wanted to talk about it, and it's called pencils. And basically, someone would hold a pencil like so, and the other person would flick it back, take their pencil, flick it back, and hit the other guy's pencil until someone's pencil broke, and then that's how you won the game. And if you didn't have an extra pencil, you went to school without a pencil. And you had to explain to the teacher that you were playing a stupid game and blah, blah, blah. Well, it got to the point that people were cheating where they would lightly hold on to the pencil, so when they flicked it back, it got knocked out. Oops, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Or, let's see, or they would start bringing these, those big giant pencils. Boom! And then after a while, it wasn't fun anymore. But I have no idea how it spread. But yeah, someone came up with it, and that's what they did. Then the other game is broom hockey. Oh, one thing about the dodgeball or any game, reason why some of these give me STD or whatever is because I was always picked last, or I was on the last, second or third, person left of the teams, and they made a rule that you had to choose everyone played, whoever showed up. Whoever showed up, you couldn't turn anyone away, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I went through that almost all my life until I got into high school, to where I finally, developed some muscles and got a little bigger. Anyways, enough about that. On to the next thing. Then on the third tier, the actual game that could be considered dangerous is keep away. You're like, how is that? How is that dangerous? Well, you have someone in the middle and people around, and then after a while, kids get mean, and then the person in the middle gets frustrated, and then, the game itself wasn't really dangerous unless you threw the ball at them, but usually it was a Nerf ball, so that didn't really matter. But sorry. Anyways, so you had that, and it was just the fact that they started to notice it just wasn't making any sense that if you had an athletic person or a really short person, yeah, it was hard, and then some fights would break out. So that's how it would become dangerous, or the reason why it was banned and not played anymore. And then there was another one called broom hockey. This is the last one on the list that's associated or a hybrid of an existing professional game or games that played from elementary school and up, which is broom hockey. And basically, what you do is you have brooms, regular brooms, not the big old push brooms. I guess that would be the job of the goalie. But anyways, you take those old school big black erasers, and you would hit the eraser across the gym, across the what's it called, the basketball court, and of course that would only work inside. If you use the basketball court, it would have to be a little small ball. But anyways, it was more fun with those big black erasers. Now you say, well, why is that dangerous? Well, think about the second part of the name, hockey. There's the old joke, a bunch of guys got together and they were starting to fight, and a hockey game broke out. Definitely how it was in the 80s and 90s. Anyways, now to the most automatically banned games. But I forgot about before up at the top tier. I forgot about before we get to the most obscure, most probably never played again games ever. Is King of the Hill. No, not that King of the Hill. The King of the Hills were a bunch of kids. They would get to a hill, or if they were even more dangerous or unintelligent, so to speak, and they would go on the monkey bars or that big super dome thing. Anyways, you would race to the top of the hill, and possibly the monkey bars if you're brave enough to do it on that. Anyways, you get on top of the hill, everyone would race to the top of the hill, and as you're getting to the top of the hill, you'd be pulling each other down, and then start shutting, and you could see why that game was banned. And then that it got out of control to where people are hitting and shoving and doing whatever, and then you get to the top of the hill and you push people down. And there was that. Now to the fourth tier, there was a game called Butts Up, or in my elementary school, back in the good old days, was Butts Up 7-Up. And the way you played it at my school, when you weren't allowed to, because we'll get to why you couldn't play it at my school, even with adult supervision. But what you do, if you've heard of the game handball, is you have this little small rubber ball, and you would hit the ball with your hand up against the wall, and then you had two players, and there was six six other kids waiting in line for their turn. And then when whoever lost that game either would have to bend over onto the wall or onto the pool, or in our case, we had to grab our ankles and kiss our butt goodbye because the person who won, they would be first up, and they would throw the ball at your backside, and then the other ones waiting in line, they would throw the ball at your backside. And if you lost, and then you were out, unless you were brave enough to get. Well, if you want, you can get back in line, but the same. Just because no one was exempt from being if you lost. So you already know why that was banned. I mean, it was banned when it was created. You weren't allowed to play it anymore. Then there was another game that they didn't like us playing, and I think they banned. But we secretly tried to play the game anyways. It was called Well, it's not YouTube friendly. It's not PC, and but now it's called Smear the Person with the Ball. It used to be smear the Q word. Basically, you take a Nerf football or a regular football, throw it up in the air, and then whoever is brave enough to try to catch the ball or pick up the ball off the ground, everybody else tried to tackle that person. There was no touch. There was no aggressive shoving. It was tackle. And if you managed to throw the ball up in the air, not across, because that was too easy. If you managed to throw the ball up in the air before you hit, you weren't out. But if you hit the ground before you were able to throw the ball in the air, you were out. So you already know why you couldn't play that game and why it was banned. And then, because of boredom, because it wasn't enough to get hurt on the bike. It wasn't enough to get hurt on the playground with the crazy equipment that we had. By the way, that's one of my videos that shows all the crazy equipment that we used to play with. No, that wasn't enough. We had what you call dirt clog wars. It's where big pieces of mud that would dry up and you would throw it at each other. Just why? Why? I don't know why, but we thought that was the best game ever. It was, of course, you weren't allowed to play it on the schoolyard, but they tried to play it. But then you would figure out ways to play you would play it out, outside of the school or whatever. But yeah, dirt clog wars. And then it got bad to where you would pick up clogs that had rocks in it, or there was a rock in the middle of it, and then that's where the game got seriously dangerous. You're talking about doctor visits, hospitals, stuff like that. Oh yeah, I forgot about with the flag football thing, that the game that was banned, unless there was adult supervision, was the touch football. I think I talked about that anyways. So there's all the games, at least the ones I could remember, at least for Generation X, for Gen X, of games that were banned, or they just stopped playing them, or they removed them from the yard, or they're not played very often. So yeah, there's those games, the banned old schoolyard games, Pyramid Explained. So don't forget to hit that like button. And if you want to see my ugly face on your screen for whatever device you're using to watch YouTube, don't forget to ring that bell. And remember, it's love to be loved. It's always love to be loved. Be blessed and goodbye.